Where I fell badly, like you said, was that next level of investment. I didn't know about investing until until Alex told me. I was just like, what do you mean investment? I had that old African mum mentality.
You keep money.
You keep money under the bed.
Under the bed.
That was me. I like to see it in my Santander account, growing. That is it. When you see 0.19p interest every year, fine, no problem. For me, I was a model. I was a model student. I've got money.
Yeah.
No.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Advice with Alex and Friends, the podcast. I'm your host Alex and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host Novella.
Hi guys.
And we're going to get straight into it. We're talking all things money, okay?
Money. Where the money resides.
Where the money resides. Okay.
I hope he's well.
I hope he's well.
I hope he's well.
I do. And anybody who talks about money, I hope that they're really well as well, because at the end of the day, I think that there's lots of conversations that happen online, you know, about money and not necessarily the nitty gritty in terms of money. I'm going to be very real and very transparent in terms of my money journey and start off by saying that once upon a time I was in credit card debts. Okay. Now I was paying off the money each month, but I would need that money each month again. I wasn't making enough money, right? And whilst do you know what? No, let me drag myself. I'm going to drag myself because at the time I did have a car on finance. And it's not to say that I didn't need a car. I did need a car. It wasn't even like a high spec car, but I probably could have found something that was a bit cheaper, but my credit wasn't great as well. So I ended up paying more in terms of the interest as well. So it's like credit card debt, my credit is not good. And then on top of that, that year, did I not go on free holidays? What business did I have to?
Sometimes life is for the living, Alex. Sometimes life is for the... I'm being controversial there, but like I understand. No, I get where you're coming from.
What was I doing going on free holidays because I wanted to run away from I wanted to, you know what I mean? I was running away from my problems. Why am I going on holiday 3 times when I'm in credit? No, I get it together. Yeah. Get it together.
Pictures were cute though. Hella memories.
Yeah, you're right. Do you know what? I do have the memories, and we thank God that I'm no longer.
No. You're good. We can laugh about it now.
We can laugh about it now. That was literally 10 years ago. Where I think back, oh my gosh, like wow, like you were not in the best place, and so.
Why do you think that was? Was it? Did you feel like you weren't financially literate in a sense, or was it a case where you just, you know, sometimes when you're starting off in life, you actually just don't know. You just don't know, and you don't know at the time. Where, like you said, that was 10 years ago. You were very young. Like, and you weren't thinking probably, you know, what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years time. You were thinking about the there and the now. I feel like I'm making slight excuses for you. I feel like you're making excuses for me. I'm not trying to hold you.
There's no excuse.
You were wrong.
I was wrong. Okay, I knew I shouldn't have been doing that. But the thing is, the reality of it was I wasn't making enough money. I wasn't making enough money, and so
they weren't paying us.
Yeah, they weren't paying. I you know, I didn't have enough money, and so I felt that there was pressure. There was pressure from me at home. There was pressure to kind of keep up and enjoy with friends. There was pressure in terms of, you know, at the time I was just trying to figure out my life, and
that was then, you know. You know, we didn't even have the lifestyle that they have now. That was then. So could you imagine the lifestyle it would be like now for people? And that was then.
It's true.
We weren't doing Hakkasan and all of that.
True.
We weren't.
What was that? I didn't even know.
I didn't know. We were still doing birthday parties. Like, you know, we did a cheeky Nando's and then we went raving afterwards. So we were TGI Fridays for us was high end. £18 for wings. It's true. That was high end for us. No, so true. That's mental. It just even shows you. Again, I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying it just even shows you that, you know, even just those little things then back then added up.
No, but you're right. I didn't have the you know, the literacy that I do now, and so ultimately, one, you have to be in a position to make more money. You know, when people say save, 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 what are you saving if you don't have enough money? You can save that, but then you're going to go into those savings every single month. And giving yourself grace in the sense that, you know, at the time I was 23 years old. I didn't have to have everything figured out. I had done everything up until that point that I was told to do, but I didn't realize that the landscape was changing, that having, you know, a kind of standard job wasn't going to be enough in order for me to sustain the life that I wanted. Now, a lot of people coming up, they know that, okay, I've got my 9 to 5, I've got a side hustle, I've got this, I've got a plan, you know, I want to take information from here and repackage it. But I didn't have any of that at the time. I was just, I thought that my salary was going to be enough.
Yeah.
And so I had to look at my life and think, I don't want this for myself. And I made a drastic change the year after I moved to Dubai, and that started to open my eyes in terms of money.
Yeah, that was where real money resided.
Yeah, that's where real money resided. And funnily enough, where I stopped spending so much money. It was like, you don't actually need to spend much money. I became so good with money when I was there.
I love that. Change.
Change. I really changed for the best. To a point, because whilst I was saving money, I wasn't investing my money. So I did a really silly thing, and I was saving my money that I was getting from my paychecks every single month, and I was just putting it into my UK account, and it was just there. I mean,
it's not a silly mistake.
No, it is a silly mistake. Well, now I can say that to myself now, right? It is a silly mistake in the sense that if I had known, I wish I had known what I had known now, right? I would have been investing it into the S&P 500. I would have been, you know, I would have put some money in crypto if I knew what that was back then. I wouldn't have, or I would have put it into a high interest savings account. At the bare minimum, that's what I would have done. But I didn't. And so that money that I was putting away, whilst it was helping me build my credit, thank God, so it actually did help me build my credit. I remember when I came back to the UK, my score was 996 on Experian. Okay? My credit was amazing because there were certain things I was still paying for in order to help me build my credit and things like that. So yeah, but that money just was depreciating because I was putting it into an account. And so that was, looking back, I almost feel sad for that person that I was beforehand, who was like, I'm going to be really good with money. And I just didn't know that to a point.
It's the next level.
It was the next level. I didn't know what that next level was. I didn't know about investing. And so when I came back, I did start to invest and figuring things out. But there wasn't that conversation. I didn't have anybody that could sit me down and tell me what to do with my money. I had people asking me, well, why haven't you bought a house yet? And why haven't you done this? And why haven't you done that with my money? Shaming me for not doing certain things with my money, but not telling me how to make my money work for me. I didn't have that. I just had people telling me, why haven't I done something?
Okay, nice. My history with money is ever so slightly different. I have been fantastic from a young age with money. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never been in debt before. I pay off my credit cards every single month, like nothing. No one. I don't owe anything. And it was only my mum really did. Up until a point, I'm not like financially literate. I'm not very good. But when it comes to ticking the boxes of, like, you make sure you pay this on time, you make sure you think that, when it comes to living within their means, I am a role model of living within your means. No joke. And I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but I have always been someone who has been so good at humbling themselves in knowing that it's so nice to see other people have that. I can't afford to have that. And I am content in that. When I knew, when I've had my first car, I had it for many years. When I knew I wanted to upgrade to another car, I knew I had to change jobs because I needed more money to thingy that. And, I didn't go and get like a big boy car and everything like that. I got something that's comfortable for me. And I always knew from a long-term plan as well, I knew I've been amongst people who aren't very good with money, and that I feel like has helped me be like, I need to be my biggest flex was when we went to go and do our mortgage thingy, me and my partner, and both of us, no problems.
Yeah.
We had every mortgage coming out of the thingy, not approved, no problem,
accepted.
Perfect. Yeah, we both have got cars on finances, but it's no problem. We've paid that on time. We paid this on time. For that, we were model students, and I loved that for us.
Yeah.
Where I fell badly, like you said, was that next level of investment. I didn't know about investing until until Alex told me. I was just like, what do you mean investment? I had that old African mum mentality.
That you keep money.
Yeah, that you keep money under the bed.
Under the bed.
That was me. I like to see it in my Santander account, growing. That is it. When you see 0.19p interest every year, fine, no problem. For me, I was a model. I was a model student. I've got money.
Yeah.
No. But like you said, but then it was only like having conversations with you and your partner around kind of what else the next level up, that I was just like, oh shoot, I need to be doing more. And it took me a long time, a very, very long time, because like you're right, I didn't have anybody talking about this. Like I don't really have a lot of friends in like even like finance or any of that were like, Novella, you need to do something more with your money. It was only through you and kind of speaking a little bit more about it. I was just like, okay, we need to do something about this. The first thing I did as well was started looking at investing too. I also benefited from, so for those people, we'll do another episode on this. For those people, I know it closed down, but I had a Help to Buy ISA. When I tell you that money came in so handy, it was the government one, but they closed it down, I think a couple of years ago. But it was just looking at ways in which you could technically get free money. And between us, like I'm happy to disclose, between us, we got $6,000 from the government from doing that. And that's helped towards, you know, other things that we want to do within the house and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely around kind of investing. So, you know, I seriously looked at, okay, what can I do to invest? I now try to do investments. I do the, what's the other one? I'm trying to think. I've got it, but I'm trying to think. Is it stocks and shares one? Yes, the stocks and shares. I've got stocks and shares ISA, yes, which I do as well. But it's just, like you said, it's just around taking that next level, because you're happy. I'm happy when you see the money, but it's just like, what is the money?
Yeah.
And you're always so good at like even sending me stuff around, and like, you know, like put that in there and that, and you're always so good, and I have to remind myself that I need to constantly do that. So my thingy was good, but then it's just like when it comes to like actually being smart about your money, I was dumb as hell when it comes to that.
Do you know what? It's not even. I think, again, we don't have those conversations about money. I know that I didn't have anybody who was having those conversations with me about money transparently. It was always, you know, kind of. I'll be honest, there was encouragement sometimes to spend money on things that when I think about it, it wasn't necessary. One thing though that I will say that I'm grateful for, my dad always said, take out insurance.
Yes.
So he was always like, you take out insurance because you just never know when you're going to need it. And so one of those things I think within our community that is lacking is people taking out life insurance.
Talk on about it.
Has somebody, trigger warning, lost somebody and there's a GoFundMe because that person didn't have life insurance. And even when you do have life insurance, not communicating with your kids about where the information is for them to make those next step.
And people don't talk as well as about, sometimes I know this is going to come across really harsh, but it is a little bit selfish because I've seen it like firsthand as well, the amount of time that has to go into getting people's affairs after that they've passed. And it's just like, if you had taken just a little bit of time, instead of sending Auntie Kimmy £50 back home, put that money, and why are you not keeping that money for yourself? for yourself, and we talk about generational wealth and stuff like that, but just making things a little bit easier on not just, but I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want to be a burden on other people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a burden on other people.
That don't, they're happy. They're like, well, they're, my children, so they should
be.
They see it as an entitlement, as opposed to actually, in order to build generational wealth, you need to pass money down. It shouldn't come up. And there are lots of elders, unfortunately, who see that they should benefit from their children's money, as opposed to them realizing that they're going to have their own kids. And even if they don't have their own kids, they're living their own lives, and so therefore they need to focus on themselves, build themselves up, and then they can give you back. But what we find is a lot of people get into the trap of they have to contribute towards the house. They have to, people see it as, oh, you're making money immediately. There's the tax on you to
help out at home.
You help out at home, and you're trying to save for a house, and you're trying to think about your future, and you want to go for other things, and you're not able to do that because that money is being funneled back into the house, and you're not able to build it and therefore pass it down.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially in this country, right, where it's so difficult to, quote unquote, I guess, especially I'm coming from people from, I guess, immigrant kind of background, to really put our stamp in this country. And little things, like you say, being able to save to buy a house, or being able to start your own business, or whatever it is that you need to do to set roots here. Like you said, that has to trickle down, because like you said, I'm supporting you, and then I'm supporting myself, and then I'm thinking about I need to support my children. Like I'm trying to, so it's like I've got the weight on my shoulder with all of those things. And it's just like little things, like just life. The tax man takes enough money from us, like honestly. And I think when people talk about, I don't know if it's a stigma for about life insurance and everything, but for me, it's really not that expensive.
It's not that expensive, especially when you start younger. When you're, if you start in your 20s, you can get plans for like £6-7 pounds or something. In your 30s, you're not spending more than £11 a month. It's only when you get older that it becomes more expensive. And there's also sometimes there are benefits that can come with life insurance. So my life insurance that I have, it's with a company called AIG, and I have access to this online health platform where it's 24-hour GP. So I use it all the time for my son. Instead of calling 111, unless they tell me, oh, we can't help you over the phone, you're going to actually need to go in person, then I'll call 111. But it's brilliant, and there's so many other things that they offer, and you can take it out from as young as possible. And the other thing that you need to do, that I'm going to, again, publicly drag myself for, is create a trust.
Yes.
I haven't done that yet, and I need to do that. And having life insurance is great, and that's wonderful. But if you don't set up a trust, then it does cause problems if ever somebody needs to claim. So by setting up the trust, then you have persons named who are going to be the beneficiaries of that life insurance policy.
Of course.
And that's definitely something that I'm going to set up by the time this goes live.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm the same with you. Like I have life insurance. I also have I have critical health illness at work, but I also have an enhanced one. My partner has he has a critical illness as well. And it's just like you said, and I have something as well from, I think it's Aviva, where it's called Help at Hand, which is great, and it's similar to you. 24-hour GP, physiotherapist, anything, and I can get anybody on my family. They can use those services as well. It's unlimited, which I absolutely love too. And it's just those sorts of ease, like, I don't know about you, but when we had a proper conversation with a protection advisor, and when we're having that conversation, people make it seem, and I'm talking more about the aunties, they say it's scary, but it put me at such ease talking through those finances. I am not scared of death. Death is inevitable. But what I am scared of is being a burden on other people, especially financially. So for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I felt so much better after having that. I was like, this is the right thing. This is a good amount of money to go towards helping that. I know that if I was to pass, then my partner doesn't have to worry about the mortgage on our property because it will be paid off. It's covered.
Yeah.
That brings me so much peace. If I have children, the same thing. That brings me.
They won't be at potential loss of a home.
No.
Because that's what happens sometimes where all the affairs were in order when a parent was alive and then they pass and then people can become homeless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it, and especially sometimes right, if it's a council property, right, that property has to go back to the council. If it's a mortgage, there is, no matter what happens, if there's debt to that mortgage has to be paid off. If you don't have the funds to pay that mortgage off, you have to sell the property. That is life. That is life. So what are you putting in place for people to help? Like if I say I love you, right? I love you. You're my child. You're my husband. You're my whatever. Like I want to look after you in the living and in the death. Like, I want you to be good. I don't want to, you're going to be already emotional about going through the stresses of death. Why am I going to make finance one of those things?
Yeah,
let that money just be pouring in for you.
Yeah, you can't grieve that person because you're too busy worrying about the finances.
Exactly, when you say about funeral, it's just like, you know, even if you don't get the money straight away, you're like, it's fine. I know I'm not going to have that burden. So it's just, sometimes I really wish I could just shake them sometimes and just be like, this is serious.
Yeah.
And this is why white people be living in life. They be winning in life because their parents don't joke when it comes to their life insurance, their pensions, their houses, their trusts. They don't joke about when it comes to that. Billy, Bob, Ray, Susan will all be fine because they've got the plans in place. Like, why do we always have to be, sometimes I feel like we're always so behind. We're always constantly catching up. We're always behind.
Yeah, do you know what? I think there's an element of sometimes our parents' generation not seeing this place as their final bus stop. They don't see this place as their home. Their minds are still back home. And so because of that, they don't set up full shop here.
Yeah.
But the thing is, wherever you have lived for an extended period of time, or wherever it is that you have, you know, a partner, a spouse, kids, you have to think about, how can I set myself up here? What am I going to do to make sure that all these people are okay and safe? I can't just think about going back home. That's in addition to what I've got here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. And when I even hear about even those talking about like, you know, they want to be, you know, like you said, their final resting places over there.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it is so you want all this stuff, but then you're not putting any of your finances in that.
Yeah.
You're expecting this all from me.
Why do you think that they are afraid to talk about death?
It's for them, I think it's like you're tempting fate. As I've always heard that. They say, I don't want to talk about it because you're tempting fate. I was just like, I don't believe in that. And I think it's a bit of a cop-out. You don't want to have... For me, instead of talking about Auntie Bissie's gele, like these are the conversations you really need to be having. No, you're quick to call up and talk about so-and-so. Did you see what the daughter has done this thingy? Sort out your life.
No, it's true.
Sort your life.
No, it's so true. When you sit down and you speak to your friends, your family, the people around you, what are you actually speaking about?
Nonsense.
Yeah.
That has it doesn't affect your life. Them happening, or this person didn't go to university or whatever thing. Why is that? I don't understand. Why is that part of your conversation?
Instead of you talking about
talking to your children about saying, you know what, I have done this, or this is my plan. This is where my will is. The will, that's another thing as well. That is another thing. That's another thing around tempting fate. That's another thing around, like, why must we always be suffering with certain stuff? I've personally seen how long it has taken for somebody to go through probate And the stress and the finding of documents and going, it is not a nice process. It is emotionally draining, and it can be very, very long. It can be extremely long. For the sake of what? Just to write a will, at least, or like you said, or life insurance, or something. Either or. I'm not saying you don't have to have the full works. You don't have to have the will,
but
and stuff like that. But have one of those. So you know, let the people not be coming and telling and saying that you need to, I don't know, identify as to the reason why you should be the beneficiary of that, because so it's there.
Again,
no one contesting that.
Right, exactly. Justifying why you should get this pot of money to maybe continue to pay for a house that you're living in and you've always lived in. And it's all of those things. A lot of, there's, going back to what you said in terms of the elders kind of speaking about stuff that's unnecessary. I wish they'd all gather together and talk about, okay, how are we leveling up financially? What are we doing? Do you have pension? Do you have enough pensions because you're closer to
retirement age?
You're closer to retirement age. Do you have enough of that? Okay, what are you people doing? So again, you know, the conversations about when will you this or when will you that happen, right? What are you doing for your kids to support them? You know that it's more difficult for that generation, for our generation. And on average, I think people are staying like for an extra 6 to 10 years.
Staying where?
At home with their parents than the previous generation, right? Instead of shaming them, are you doing something to contribute, helping them to do that? How are you helping? Having those kind of conversations. How can we help you guys as the younger generation? What legacy can we leave behind? That is what I want to hear you guys talking about on the phone. That is what I want to see circulating in the WhatsApp groups.
Absolutely. Not send this to 5 of your friends.
Thank you. That's what I want to see on Facebook, on the Facebook post.
Yes. Saying, you know, thumbs up, I signed up with Aviva today. You know? Yeah. You know, these are the stuff, these are the things that really, really matter. And I don't know how we're gonna combat that. I don't know.
I don't think you can. People are set in their ways. The only thing we can do is say, you know, that was with them, but that stops with me.
Absolutely.
We're not doing this with me. I am pouring into the younger generation as much as I possibly can. I'm utilizing my no. There are certain things that I know I've had to push back and say, no, I don't want any parts in this, because I have to focus on myself. If I constantly am worrying about other people and investing in others, then I can't invest in myself, you know? And when I put myself in a decent position, then I can be able to give back as well. And there's a lot of supporting people with things that are outside of their means as well. And we need to start calling things out like, no, you can't afford this particular thing. You know, whether that be telling somebody don't buy a particular car because you actually can't really afford it. Don't go and, we encourage home ownership, but make sure you can own that home comfortably so you don't become house poor.
Absolutely, comfortably. You know, humble yourself. People really need to humble themselves. Look realistically at what you can afford. Like you getting I've never understood that. I don't know. I've never understood that around why people would want to put themselves through, you know, like you said, like, okay, you finance a car, but you know, let's say you're earning 25K and then you go and you get yourself a 2024, I don't know, Range Rover. Monthly payments are like £600. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it might be more. It depends on how much you put down for the deposit. How much what your credit score is, and there are all of these things. So do you want to take, say for example, you're on, I don't know, like you said, 25K. I don't know what the take home for that is. I can't remember. Maybe like
25 to
maybe like
25,000.
maybe like 1,400. Let's say like 1,400 pounds. So you want to spend £600 a month.
That's half
on a car.
Your.
That's half. That's not including insurance. That's not including petrol. That's not including your food. That's not, you know, including other things. That's not including having an emergency fund. And I think that's probably going to be the last thing that I touch on in this topic. There are 2 things that are really important. Number one, making sure that you're not in debt. And number 2, having an emergency fund. And if somebody were to ask me today, which one do I think is more important, I'd always say have the emergency fund, because at least you have cash to draw down on whenever if something were to happen, right? And not enough people have those savings. So doing what you can to make sure that you prioritize having an emergency fund is really important. Start off with, okay, how can I get to £100 and keep it consistently? How can I get to £500 and keep it consistently? So I'm not dipping into that. How can I get to now £1,000? And you know, those milestones. And some people can go straight to £1,000 or whatever. And you do it as you can, and then continue to build. Don't say, oh, I've got £1,000, let's leave it, because let's be real, because he lives is very real.
Absolutely.
So we need to have as much money that we can kind of draw down on as possible, that you feel comfortable with. And now, are we going to leave it in our bank account? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to go and open up a high interest savings account. So that we can access that money. And there are some really good deals. Santander has one that gives you 7%. Lloyd's has one that gives you 6.25%. And the Santander one's really good because they pay you the interest every single month for the first year. After the first year, they reduce the percentages. You know, there are lots of other ones that do that. I know I've got a Barclays one, and it pays me like 5-point-something% again, and it's every single month. So it's just one of those things where now I look at the money. So I've maxed out the amount of money that you can pay to get that 5.25%. And I could add more money, but then I'd get very little percentage. So I just allow that compound interest to build every month, and that makes me feel really happy. And I remember when I didn't have that fund there, and it's like, oh, you know, it's that reminder that actually my money is working. That however much money you get every single month, that you didn't work for that, you made that money in your sleep. So get comfortable with that reframing. So in terms of the advice that I'd give myself today to make my future self proud, reframe your mind. How can I reframe how I see money to make it so that good habits become a reward for me? So instead of taking money and spending it on, say for example, a designer bag that I'm going to be fascinated by for the first
5
month
minutes,
or whatever, and then afterwards I don't care for, how could I take that £1,000 for example and have an emergency fund? How can I take that money and use it to upskill myself, invest in a business, invest in something else, so that actually that money starts to make money for me. And that's what I definitely do. That's what I do now. I reframe my mind and say this is a positive reward.
No, that's brilliant. I love that. I definitely need to do better with money. I feel like I am still very, very old school in my thinking towards money, but I do, and I guess maybe I need to, for future self, like kind of communicate more and ask people. I think some people are quite open about it, like, do you have any recommendations for any high interest accounts that you're using and stuff? Like, let's talk about it. Like I said, you always do such a great job, and I took the options that you gave and made sure I kind of looked into it and opened it. And it's just around, I guess, having more conversations around that and finding out, because some people find out stuff like really, I love people that just love sharing information. So I'm not very good at finding out what's going on, but I love it when people share information. So I need to be a little bit more curious, I think, with stuff like that. It's just like, okay, we've got this, what can we do right now with that money that we've got sitting there?
I agree. Thinking how can I make my money work for me? That being the focus. And whenever, you know, anybody wants to take my money, you have to bid for it.
Yes.
You have to give me a business proposal. Yeah. Why should I give you my money? Insert designer brand. Why should I give you my money? Insert travel company. Why should I give you my money? Insert car company. Why should I give you my money? Basically, I think, and you know, kind of take that power back. We're definitely going to have a part 2 of this episode.
Woo!
For sure, we will continue the conversation. What are you going to do to make sure that you meet your financial goals today? How are you going to reframe your mind? What are some of the conversations that you're going to start to have with the people around you, especially if you're somebody who's further along in your journey and you see other people making the same mistakes? Are you going to start being transparent with the people around you, saying, hey, do you know what, actually I'm in credit card debt, or I don't have emergency savings, I'm not making enough money, what can I do to turn that around? So guys, on that note, we will see you in the next episode. Until then, take care.
Bye. Bye.